Perched high in the shadowed rafters of New Vargas Station, Deathstalker watched the cultist approach her across the gantry. He was a slight figure, swamped by his administratum robes as he hurried onwards. Everyone on this planet, it seemed to her, was weak and malnourished. It would be thin pickings for the Hive Fleet once it arrived. Her lictor-enhanced senses cut through the gloom to pick out the look of reverential awe on his face, and she felt her talons tense in anger. The only expressions she enjoyed seeing on human faces were those of fear and shock. Normally, shortly before her claws removed the ability for their faces to express anything at all. Reverence was not something she craved. Besides, the fact that she was even having to rely on the local gene stealer cult was a surefire sign of a mission gone badly wrong. Not that it was her fault. There had been 2 lictors dispatched to kill Governor Pell, each from a slightly different evolutionary strain. This was the Hive Fleet's newest strategy. Dispatch 2 lictors, reincorporate only the traits from the successful one back into the gene pool for the next spawning cycle. Survival of the fittest. That was all well and good, except that this time, she had been paired with a ripper-brained idiot. Every carefully laid plan of hers, the governor's parade ambush, the sewage pipe infiltration, the courtesan disguise, had been thrown into disarray when that fool, the lictor the humans called Priest's Bane, had turned up and got in the way. She was certain some Carnifex genes must have contaminated his spawning pool at birth. Such was his lack of subtlety. So now the governor was holed up, and she found herself reliant on the local gene stealer cult to give her the access key codes to his inner sanctum. She turned her attention back to the figure before her, currently staring up at her, in awe, pathetically like a gaunt before its birthing tervigon.
By the four-armed father's kindly claw, an angel sent from above,
the cultist whispered in mesmerized tones. He pulled out a data slate from his robes.
I have the key codes you need. But you have surely also been sent to answer our great theological debate.
Night Stalker felt her ire rise, the ichor pumping a little louder in her ears. She would really rather have enjoyed disemboweling this fool had he not been essential to her mission.
How many aberrants can dance on the head of a power pick? I know the answer must be infinite, for the four-armed father is all-powerful. But some heretics within the Brotherhood say only one. What is the true answer?
She had no interest in humoring him, and simply stood in a silence intended to indicate her contempt for the question. The only noise was the hum of passengers from far below, and the echoing announcements of the station loudhailer.
We regret to announce that the 2730 locomotive to the Corpsstadt Processing Manufactorium is cancelled due to servitor malfunction. If you have questions about ticket refunds for this service, please report to your local priest. They will issue you with penance because questions are the first step on the road to heresy. Remember, if you see anyone with a suspiciously ridged forehead, report it immediately to the nearest arbitrator. See it, say it, shoot it.
When it became clear that the cultist was still waiting, Night Stalker held out her claw for the data slate. As she did so, she noticed the slightest flicker of movement ahead out of the corner of her eye. She lunged forward to grab the data slate, but her talons swept through thin air. Ahead of her, the cultist was flying backwards, pierced through by a flesh hook. It had been fired by Priest's Bane, the rival lictor, hidden in the darkness. Night Stalker lunged after them and fired a flesh hook of her own. But on the unsteady gantry against a moving target, it flew harmlessly by. Up ahead, Priest's Bane plucked the data slate from the cultist's grasp, dropped him to the floor, and with an arrogant shake of his talons towards Night Stalker, leapt into the shadows. She followed in pursuit, already calculating how to cut him off at the exit. After a couple of steps, however, she came to an abrupt halt. Her competitive drive, that fierce desire to win and have her genetic imprint carried onwards to further generations of lictors, urged her onwards. But that impulse was shackled by the cold logic of the hive mind. To pursue him through the station was simply too risky, too likely to alert the humans to their presence here and compromise the mission. She would have to find some other way. She turned back towards the cultist, who was lying weakly on the metal surface. A deep crimson stain was spreading quickly across his cream robes. Perhaps she should disembowel him now while he still breathed. It would certainly take the edge off her anger. A good disemboweling always calmed her down. But she could see him trying to speak, mouthing words at her, and she leant closer.
The key codes,
he coughed.
Do you want them?
Her mind instantly cleared, the anger replaced by a cold focus. She tapped questioningly at his pocket where he had previously held the data slate.
The data slate?
He asked.
That held our theological scriptures. I was going to put your answer in there. The key codes. I memorized.
For the first time on this planet, Night Stalker smiled. Or at least the closest thing a bioengineered killing machine with a mouth made of tentacles can get to smiling. She cradled him tenderly and jabbed her feeder tendrils through his eye sockets rather less tenderly. It was only a quick search through his memories to find what she needed. The key codes were hers. Priest's Bane could keep his scriptures.
Hello everyone! We hope you enjoyed this production of Unnatural Selection, written by M.D. Nugent and performed by Sarah McManus. Direction and production by Colin DeGraff. We are well into a new season of untold stories from Warhammer 40,000, so if you're enjoying this, please subscribe and leave a comment. There's humans on the other side of the internet here, we'd love to hear what you have to say. Now, this story was an official selection in our 1,000-word fast fiction contest. If you enjoy tales like this, head on over to coldopenstories.com. You'll find stories from factions across Warhammer 40,000 that you can read or listen to, as well as our call for submissions. While you're there, you can also check out our longer anthologies and join the free Discord. Now, at the time of this recording, we are in the middle of our Halloween celebrations, which means a bonus episode from our original Worlds catalog every Tuesday. All the same quality of production that you've come to expect, but in bold new settings, so we'd really appreciate if you could just give them a chance and a listen. As we celebrate 5 years of Cold Open Stories, just want to say thanks again. We genuinely appreciate you joining us on this journey. Now until next time, to be continued.